From communication to conflict, the third C. A key skill in a leader is how they navigate and resolve conflicts in a team. Given that competition and individual ambition can plague a team, how does a leader handle disagreement within their team? Continuing the conversation with us, we have Prasanth Kumar. Okay, now no team can be devoid of friction and conflict. So, as a leader, as a coach, how do you resolve conflict within the team?
It's bound to happen.
Of course.
If it doesn't happen, it's not, something's wrong. You know, no two human beings are alike, so, you know, each one's reasoning will be rightfully different, which we want, because that's the way you can pull out the best from everyone and see what's the best that's needed for the team. There will be conflict at times when someone like a coach, you know, praises another guy, you know,
and
as opposed to, it came out in the media recently, you know,
and
where
Ashwin was miffed.
Miffed that.
But that made him perform better, didn't it?
That's exactly the reason I said it. Now, here's a young kid playing only his first or second test in Australia.
Yes.
And goes and does something no other Indian spinner has done for a long time, taking 5 wickets. So it's my duty as a coach to give him the accolades he deserves.
How do you go about resolving a conflict when two people are not getting along? Or this, I mean, on a, like, if they've had a conflict or had, you know, ongoing friction, how do you as leader resolve these issues?
Speak to the individuals one-on-one, saying what is the issue, it doesn't help the team. Or even if you have your personal issues, leave that behind and do not get it to the dining table. Or the other thing to do is set both the guys across the table and go. Have a boxing match, I'm the match referee, and see what comes out of that, and see if you can chip in and make things work.
But you know, there's something to be said about game face, because you know, we even in our business have conflicts with co-actors, and there was one show I did where I was not talking to my co-actor for 1 year.
That's
but
terrible.
You know what, we put on our game face, we did the work which was for the greater good of the show, and we got along when we had to. So sometimes doing it, you know, just forging, because that happens often, there's conflict, people don't get along, and they have to realize that there is a greater good also.
No, but
sometimes conflicts can be resolved, sometimes they can't.
No, I'll just PK will come in here, but I'm saying you look at the best teams in the world, you know, and the media can build it.
Yep.
You know, they can be our guest at all times.
Yes.
You look at West Indies in the 60s, Kenai Sobers. For the media, they never got along. So when they went out to bat with each other, that time everything was fine and the best performances came out. There was competition between them. In the media, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma.
Yes.
Yeah, gets the best out. I'm happy. Both compete in the middle, both get hundreds, nothing like it. You know, so you look down the line, you will always have in a team Shane Warne, Gilchrist, you know, with Australia. Pakistan all the time, you know, there'll be some conflict or the other.
Yes.
And when they go as team, it gets the best out of it. As long as it doesn't go overboard and it ruins the team spirit. That is something you don't want.
Yeah, PK, when conflict can work so that it brings out the best in your, you know, in individual members of the team, is it a good thing? Has that happened? Have you encountered this?
No, definitely. Healthy conflicts.
Healthy conflict. Healthy competition.
Healthy competition. It's a good thing, because we're constantly challenging, you know, the status quo. A serious conflict. And it could be personal, it could be professional. But when it comes to, you know, how do you resolve it, which was your question.
How does a leader resolve it? Ravi shared his ways of doing it. How would you?
Definitely, I mean, we take learning from sports, so, you know, definitely those are the things which we look at. But at the same time, you know, in a corporate, you know, situation, there is this leader which is the boss, right? And I have seen that the more, if your initial step is to be a boss to resolve a conflict, it sometimes can backfire.
Sure, sure.
Right. I think if there are two people, they are looking for somebody who can listen, right? And if the leader can listen to them, bring the larger objective to
the fore,
and ask them why do you have a difference of opinion, or what is the reason for this? I think some of it will get dissolved by itself, and it can still remain with one or two. But I think those conversations makes both of them get matured in the way they can be together. The more we try in these efforts, we have seen it getting resolved, right? And then sometimes they continue to be the way they compete, but with lesser issues.
But when do you realize that intervention is necessary? Do you let things go for a little while and see whether, because I mean, ideal situation would be the boss not entering the picture, right?
Yeah.
So how long do you let it go before intervention does become necessary?
See, you have support staff around you.
Yes.
Yeah. So you initiate the support staff to create a dialogue and try and sort out things amicably as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
If you see that not happening, when the support staff comes back and tells you, "Nahi, there's some issue," then you step in.
Okay.
And exactly what PK said is, if it's going to harm the interest of the team, then there's a problem here.
Yeah.
Where does intervention happen for
Yeah,
you
so
in the corporate world?
One of the signals is you check as a leader whether it's getting infectious. And maybe the other way to do is tell them that if it is not so much of conflict, how both can be beneficial in bringing both the greater good.
Sure.
Right? So both can happen, right? And I think that's where the leader need to adapt, being a boss or being a listener and bringing them together.
Now, what happens when there's conflict between teams? Now, I'm not going to name the team, but there's one particular team we have like a lot of conflict with. So, what happens then? How do we take it from a conflict level to a competition level?
Take that conflict to your advantage.
Okay.
Any team that has had conflict with us, we've come out on top. So I want that conflict because we know how to channelize.
In sport, it works.
Yeah, in sport it works. How to channelize that conflict to get the best out on the field. But with us, with our team, over the last 5-6 years, conflict, be my guest.
Nice.
Bring it on,
Yeah.
So we are not going to take any backward step here.
In the corporate setup, it's different. You have a lot of teams under you, and when two teams are in conflict, how do you deal with that?
If it is about the principle of doing the business, then I think there is no much of room to be conflicted and leverage it, because it will be at the expense of the larger good. But if it is about the space of performance, then you have a space of negotiation with both the teams.
Okay.
Right? And there can be a share of learnings from both sides also, right? So principle, I don't think we should, because that just, it may kill the values of the organization itself, right? We should not, encourage that.
Okay, now is a tricky one. What happens when there's conflict in on the leadership level? How do we prevent that from trickling down?
It is just a direct dialogue that, listen, you guys are seniors here. Your behavior is being watched by every youngster in the team. And the last thing you want is to make it infectious and spread there. So just think again.
Larger good is always...
Larger good. Think again what you guys are up to is bringing the team down. Do you want to be remembered for that? And you will see immediately there's a sense of...
Have you had any situations
all the
like
time,
that?
when it goes to the top, this is the way you solve it. And it has been solved.
I think while we are speaking about conflict, but it's about the leadership, right? What I feel is that, being humble is also part of leadership. If you can remind both the leaders that how humility can make them even bigger, because none of the leaders are bigger than the organization.
Correct.
If the moment the leader thinks that the person is indispensable, I think that's when you move into a different edge. Right? You got to bring in the humility. You got to remind about the humility. You got to remind about the team. You got to remind about their, ability to do better.
Yes.
Right? And have a conversation, put them together. All of this, right? Even after all of that, if it's not solving, then of course we will do what is right for the organization.
The pink slip.
Yeah. But in all of this, think about it. The first thing we talked about, communication. It's all about good communication. It's all about, clarity in communication and authenticity. And that's, I guess, where you can get the waters to be still again. Well, thank you for that. That was a lovely segment. Lots of insights there. Thank you, PK, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.